At a high-level climate action meeting, the tone was one of urgency and responsibility. The speaker began with words of gratitude, extending his respect to the United Nations Secretary-General. He framed the moment not as a ceremonial gathering, but as a decisive checkpoint in the global struggle against climate change. With less than 50 days until COP30 in Belém, Brazil, he made clear that the world is running out of time. The central question he asked is whether countries will arrive at the conference prepared or whether the cycle of delay and indecision will continue. It is time to ask whether the world will arrive in Belém with its homework done. The Paris Agreement, he reminded, was a historic turning point that gave countries the freedom to set their own emission reduction targets based on national circumstances and capabilities. But this flexibility was never meant to mean inaction. The submission of nationally determined contributions is not an option. As it was made clear by the International Court of Justice, it is an obligation. He acknowledged that in a world already scarred by frequent violations of international law, failing to submit a national climate plan may seem like a minor offence. But the consequences, he said, are profound. Without a full set of contributions, the world cannot track where it is heading or measure progress. Without the collection of NDCs, the planet is moving in the dark. Only with a full picture will we know where we are going and at what pace. This was both a call for accountability and a warning. While some nations have fulfilled their duty, others continue to drag their feet. He argued that this inertia is not limited to climate action. The denialism we face is not only related to climate, it is multilateral. In a sharp rebuke to unilateralism, he noted the futility of borders and military power in the face of natural forces. No one is safe from the effects of climate change. Walls at borders will not stop droughts or storms. Nature does not bow down to bombs or warships. Unilateral approaches, he said, breed mistrust and isolation. Each broken promise or unfulfilled commitment weakens global cooperation and sparks a chain reaction of fractured responses. This cycle erodes trust in multilateral institutions and stalls collective action, leaving the world paralysed. The only way forward, he stressed, is to restore confidence in cooperation and collective mobilisation. To illustrate what multilateralism can achieve, he pointed to the Paris Agreement's impact. Without it, projections show that the planet would already be locked into a disastrous 4-degree increase in average global temperature. Humanity, however, has proven capable of global action before. He cited the success in protecting the ozone layer as an example of how science, policy, and determination can work together to avert catastrophe. Yet he warned against the creeping sense of hopelessness. Fatalism is the worst enemy of action. The fight against climate change, he said, must not be framed as a burden, but as an opportunity. The global energy transition opens the door to what could be a transformation as profound as the Industrial Revolution. In this vision, NDCs are not bureaucratic exercises or sterile numbers. They are not mere numbers or percentages. They are an opportunity to rethink models and reorient policies and investments toward a new economic paradigm. This transformation, however, cannot happen in isolation. For the global shift to succeed, wealthier nations must accelerate their own neutrality targets and expand access to technology and financing for developing countries. The principle of common but differentiated responsibilities, he stressed, remains valid. To underline his point, he highlighted Brazil's role. Brazil was the second country to present its new NDC. We are committed to reducing emissions of all greenhouse gases by between 59% and 67%, covering all sectors of the economy. One of the pillars of Brazil's plan is its pledge to end deforestation by 2030. Hosting COP30 in the Amazon, he said, is a deliberate choice. The rainforest is both a global symbol and a front line of the climate struggle. By holding the conference there, Brazil aims to emphasize the inseparable link between environmental preservation and human well-being. Brazil wants to show that it is impossible to preserve nature without caring for people. This holistic approach, he continued, requires engaging a wide spectrum of voices. It is not enough for governments to negotiate behind closed doors. True solutions must include civil society, indigenous peoples, scientists, religious leaders, private industry, and local authorities. He pointed to Brazil's global ethical stocktake, which brought together 6 regional dialogues and representatives from across these sectors. The voice of the people must reach heads of state and government. The aim, he said, is to create a leaders' summit that does more than exchange diplomatic platitudes. It must be a direct, frank, and honest dialogue that lives up to the responsibility entrusted by societies worldwide. The stakes are not abstract. The decisions taken now will determine whether humanity rights historical injustices and secures a sustainable, prosperous future for all. He then issued a pointed challenge. Thus, I call on the countries that have not yet submitted their NDCs. The success of COP30 Belém depends on you. As the Amazon prepares to host the summit, he said, "This is a moment for decisive action. Let us make the Amazon the stage for a decisive moment in the history of multilateralism." The conclusion of his address turned into a powerful declaration of accountability. I have said and have been saying that COP30, Mr. Secretary General, is the COP of truth. This gathering, he argued, is not simply another checkpoint, but a defining test. This COP is going to have to say whether or not we believe what science is showing us. If we leaders, heads of states, if we trust or don't trust science, because we're going to have to make a decision. The consequences of indecision, he warned, would be far-reaching, because if we do not make a decision, society is going to stop believing its leaders. And instead of strengthening the struggle against global warming, we are going to help discredit multilateralism, policies, and democracy. And all of us will lose, because denialism may actually win. In closing, he placed the responsibility squarely before the global community. The outcome of COP30, he said, will define the credibility of international cooperation. Thus, the ball is in COP30's court, and I hope to rely on all of you and see all of you there. Thank you.